All right. Hello and welcome to Science Flixtion. I'm Ninja Turtle, aka Carl Eames. I do have Salim here, but unfortunately his video is not working. There he is. He's popping in right there. What's going on, Salim?
Not bad. My thing keeps I actually keep hitting my wire that plugs my camera.
Got it. Your like foot or hand or
Sorry
something.
about that,
Keep
man.
knocking into it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, things are going well. How are you doing today?
Enjoyed a pretty nice day, honestly. I can't complain about it. In the very least, it's nice weather, nice and clear, nice and busy. I'm a rideshare driver, just in case anyone's curious. So I'll get to around the city of Chicago, and it's just nice to drive. It was a nice, productive day, and um, yeah, I'm like quick news. I may be, hopefully, possibly, most likely buying a car tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, but
Oh,
trying to
awesome.
do it tomorrow. So getting rid of the old Lancer and hopefully getting something newer that I can afford. But
Nice.
yeah,
Hopefully, is the buyer's market getting better? Or
oh no,
I
that's the
haven't,
worst part of it.
I haven't really looked into it. So
No, cars are so
interesting.
expensive right now, and the interest rate is really high. But I don't have any
Right.
other choice.
I haven't really looked, so like I wasn't sure how that's working. But yeah, nothing really crazy. I have a cold right now. I'm trying to get over. Hopefully, I don't cough too much while we're doing the show. Um, Nothing else really going on. The weather's been decent. It's been odd. It's been like one day it's like 20 or 20 degrees, and then it's like 50. So goofy weather. But the other goofy stuff that I saw, I don't know if you saw this, but apparently uh, DC, like they had, so like the CEO had asked James Gunn 6 months ago to start writing the Superman script about Superman Legacy, not like anything to do with Cavill, just Superman Legacy, like a completely different Superman. And in the meantime, they still decide to go ahead and introduce Cavill as coming back, even
Yeah,
though
that's
they
weird.
knew that even though they knew at that time that they were going to reboot this whole thing.
Hmm.
Like, why would you agree like that? like,
It must have
like
been
the whole
something like behind this, like back door, like between The Rock and Henry, and like somebody, like somebody else that wasn't involved, like with the CEO. There must have been, because that doesn't make any sense at all. I mean, why would you
yeah,
go all the way out your way to bring Henry Cavill back and make it official, and then a month later he's not coming back?
right. Like, and but the crazy thing was like people thought, okay, this was decided after, like after they bought him back, then they decided, well, we're going to redo everything. But this was even before, like like months and months before, when they already knew they were gonna do Superman Legacy. Like Superman Legacy isn't brand new. He's been writing the script, like you said. He's like far along into this script for this new Superman. That was not Henry Cavill. I don't know if I keep saying his last name wrong because I'm definitely pronouncing it different than you. But anyways, yeah, it's just bizarre to think that how awful DC has just handled everything. Like they just completely like keep on bumbling along the way. I hope they get it right. I like the stuff we went over last on the last show. It seems like there's a semblance of like good planning going on, and I hope that this is the end of it, and they just are on the same page going forward. There's not 10 different things going on, at least for the DCEU. Obviously, Matt Reeves has his own universe, and then the Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix, it's its own universe. That's fine. Like they can do whatever, but like hopefully this one is just there's no like zigs when they should have zagged anymore.
Mhm.
Uh, so hopefully that happens. But yeah, we have a pretty good show today. I say that every week, but I believe it every week.
Mhm.
We, we, we
We're gonna
have,
have a crappy show today, guys. We're gonna watch some trailers and talk
uh,
about Ant-Man. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so we know we have a bunch of fast flicks we're gonna just rattle off, and then the main show is going to be us talking about Ant Man because Carl and I both watched it and it came out just a couple of days ago. Obviously, it came out last week, Thursday. I think Carl, you saw it Thursday. I ended up going yesterday in the morning and went and watched it. So yeah, I'm excited, and I haven't even asked you about it yet. So it'll be we'll giving each other our thoughts very freshly when we get into it. But yeah, let's start off with our first fast flick here. Yeah, so the first fast flick we have is Hellboy: The Crooked Man plot and production details revealed by Millennium. A reboot to be a departure and first in new series, which is this is kind of surprising to me. So they're rebooting it again after the the David Harbour movie. Looks like.
Yeah, yeah. Which I never watched that one, so I don't even know if it's any good or not.
Like it. I definitely very disappointed about
Wait, hold on. You're
it.
breaking up. I didn't even know you were talking. Can you say that again?
Yeah, I hope they keep it right. I'm pretty disappointed about Harbour movie.
No, you're still breaking up there. I'm just gonna fill that in for what's going on here. But yes, I think you said it was disappointing, the David Harbour movie. I always liked the Ron Perlman movie, the first one at least. I have a hard time remembering the second one, but I do want to check it out if it's available like on streaming or something like that. But I do like the Ron Perlman version of Hellboy. But yeah, this was kind of like coming out of nowhere. I don't even remember it being announced that they were making another Hellboy movie. And so like this news popping up a couple days ago is like the first that I've ever heard of it. And apparently they're starting production like next month. And they still don't even have anyone cast yet, but yet they're starting production on this new movie. And like you were saying, Salim, it's a departure, it's a complete reboot. So and it's actually going to have, which is relatively exciting, I would say. Mike, what's his name? I believe the original creator or one of the writers for the storyline that they're adapting, Mike Mignola, the creator, is actually going to be like directly involved with this new reboot. So it should be different from those previous iterations of Hellboy on screen, as well as being very faithful. In the very least, if it's not the same as the comics, it's still being produced by the creator. So if it's different, you can blame the person that made the character in the first place, so you really shouldn't be mad if it's if he wants to make Hellboy spit fire or spit lava or spit acid or not do any of those things. It's his baby, so he can do all of that if he wants to.
Yeah, I was saying I don't know. I was saying I cut off for my issue that I was having, but I did not like the David Harbour version. Like I hated it. And I'm so mad that we never got a trilogy for the Ron Perlman one. Like I liked the first two, like the very first two. I don't know if you saw those, Carl, but I enjoyed those two, and I think a lot like the people that were the fans of those two really wanted to see finish the one after the golden. They just, I guess, and the funny like it got good ratings too. That movie did, but I guess the production studio just didn't want to go on with it. I don't can't remember how much money it made. I don't know if it was a money issue, but there was like a um, big call for like by the fans. I don't know if maybe if social media was stronger back then, like Twitter, he could have done. We want the Ron Perlman cut or something like Snyder cut. I don't know. I'm joking, obviously, but yeah, it never came about. They never came about doing the third one. So it'll be interesting to see where they go with this one, who they cast. Like it's crazy that you're saying it's a month from now that they're doing production and they haven't, or maybe they've secretly hired someone and don't know it, and it's going to be a big surprise. But we'll find out. We'll find out what they do. Hopefully they can at least get it on track at least, off of compared to what the last one was. Like I get like David Harbour is not a bad choice. I just the writing and and the the feel of the movie just was not good. I just didn't care for that. But yeah, we'll see.
Alrighty,
Any final thoughts on that?
that's it.
No. All right. So the Marvel, the next fast flick we have is the Marvels, which is shifting to November 10th. That poster was also released. This poster was released not too long ago, right?
It was when they announced this shift in date.
Oh, did they? Okay, yeah. So uh, I didn't really get to dig into why they were shifting this. Carl, do you know what the reason was? Were they just reshooting some scenes, or they're just shifting some stuff around?
Well, I mean, I mean, we're going to talk about it shortly, but I what was it? The original date? It was what, July? It was sometime in the summer, like June or July. I can only imagine that they're doing this because that Flash trailer looked pretty dang good, and they probably want to get out the way
Right.
of that.
Makes
That's
sense.
my
That
only
could make sense.
yeah, that's my only train of thought with it. I mean, that's it. Like I don't know. Like I said, I never looked into it if there was any production issues or scheduling or what have you. I would imagine the movie's already done shooting. So, like I said, if there's reshoots, then that makes sense. But I think it's just they want to move out of the way of the Flash because it actually looks like it's good.
Right, right. That's a good point. I totally didn't even think of that. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. There's been a lot of release on this. Be interesting when they drop the first trailer. Uh, I'm guessing maybe in the summer they'll drop it. I'd imagine when they release something. I think what's the next movie that's supposed to come out in? It's Guardians. Guardians. When Guardians
Guardians,
comes
yeah,
out,
that
maybe they'll
comes
drop the
in
trailer
May.
around that.
Right, because yeah,
Um,
it's also really close. Like normally they don't have movies released that close together in the MCU. If it was May and then this would have came out in July, that's still kind of like other than Spider-Man. Like Spider-Man comes out in July sometimes, but that's technically Sony, so it's MCU, but it's
right.
still Sony. They can release it relatively whenever they want, but um other than that, they don't typically have movies released that closely. So maybe that's another reason why to space it out a little bit more because what let's see 2023 what it wasn't Blade supposed to come out this November originally.
Yeah, but then they got pushed back a year, right?
So yeah, so I
So
think like I said, just to space it out more since Blade's not coming out this year, that makes more sense too.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point as well. But yeah, let's move on to the next Fast Lake. It's about the Joker movie. It's what's it called? Can you say that title? It's like
Folie à deux.
Folie à Deux. Okay, that's the. It's going to be like the musical of Joker. So that's obviously Lady Gaga and Joaquin Phoenix are starring in it. That is coming out October 9th, 2024. Um, this as well, like obviously, there's still this is in post production now, right?
I don't know.
Because I
I know
wondered
that
if it's
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what part of production they're in. I just know one, this was shared by Lady Gaga on her social media, so Instagram and Twitter and stuff. I believe, if I remember correctly, she shared it on Valentine's Day. So a lot of people, because I don't think they fully stated that she's going to be playing Harley Quinn, but again, it being on Valentine's Day that she shared it, and it's the Joker. So I think it's heavily hinted or suggested that she is playing a version of Harley Quinn. Um, so yeah, I'm very interested still, and I think just cinematically, I mean, it's Lady Gaga, who doesn't love her, but I'm very interested in seeing what this is going to be like, and how much of a musical is it? Because I can't imagine they're going to sing the entire movie, but
so.
um,
I was saying it supposedly it's very much inspired by Liza Minnelli musicals. So
okay.
it might be heavily musical, heavily musical based. It just might be.
Yeah, it might be like, yeah, I expect it to be a lot. I don't think it's just gonna be like a couple of songs. I think it's gonna be very, very musical, but I don't expect it to be 100% every single character singing every single line the whole movie. I think it'll just be a lot of songs, and like a lot of just a lot of the moments will be mostly sung. But yeah, I because it would be completely different than the first movie, like one, 1,000% different. And I can't imagine to be that much different. A musical, sure, but still, there should be some scenes where they're not singing. Because again, unless it was just those two, you'd have to have everyone singing every line.
right. Well, I think all musicals are like that. They're not. People don't sing 100% of the time. People talk, but then like I think it's going to be a standard musical.
Yeah,
So yeah, and it's actually in production, so it's not post production. So they're still shooting it. At
yeah, they
least
got a
that's what I
year and a
read.
half
So
before the release, so I'd imagine it's still got
right,
some
right.
time.
But yeah, so that's the quick fast flick on that. The next one we have the Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, another new trailer. Now I haven't watched this yet, so I know I think you said you wanted to go over it. We'll go ahead and go and play the trailer really quick before we give our thoughts on it.
So this trailer, by the way, which I don't, just quick sidetrack. This was the big game trailer, which they didn't actually play during the Super Bowl. Which I don't know why they call it the big game. It's so weird, but that's another thing. They play like a short 30-second version of this during the Super Bowl, and they tell you to go to YouTube to watch the full thing. So this is the full trailer that they were referencing during the Super Bowl.
I'm gonna tell you something. I'm Star-Lord. I formed the Guardians. Met a girl, fell in love. That girl died, but then she came back. Came back a total dick.
Oh, please. You left out some important information, but that is the gist of it.
I get the same old dreams, same time every night. Fall to the ground and I wake up.
My sacred mission
Is to create the perfect society.
He didn't want to make things perfect. He just hated things the way they are.
It's
you all to know that I'm grateful to fight beside my friends.
Incinerate them.
We were always searching for a family until we found each other. Are you ready for one last ride? We'll all fly away together into the forever and beautiful sky.
Whoever it was that you were in love with, it sounds more like her.
Her? That's ridiculous.
Do not bring me into this.
Knock it off!
What? Just never noticed how black your eyes were.
They were replaced by my father as a method of torture.
He picked a pretty set.
Carl, I lied. I did see this. I forgot I watched it for Ant-Man when I went to watch it.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, they also played this at the Ant-Man. I was wondering if maybe they skipped it for you, but yeah.
No, I didn't.
What do you
watch
think
it.
of the
Yeah.
trailer then?
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, we see a little more of the high evolutionary, a little bit more of him. We see more and more. It seems like this is a Rocket Raccoon based movie, and you know, it's interesting to think about. Even the second one was a lot about him as well. Obviously, Peter, or it was about Peter in general because of this him and Ego, but it's interesting and slowly how each one has been where it's becoming more and more about Rocky, and this one seems to be a lot about him overall, like surrounding him, what he is and how he came to be, and obviously you were going to find out that essentially the high evolutionary created him, and that planet that they go to, more than likely it's going to be that's where what planet Rocket's from. So that'll be interesting. And then obviously, I think, is this the first time we've seen Gamora in any of these trailers? I can't remember.
I don't think so. I think she might have been briefly in the previous one. It's just like she wasn't in like any of the team shots. Like when they had the entire team, she wasn't in any of those shots, but she was in the trailer just like briefly.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. I'm wondering if this is her coming back from the past, or if they're gonna show her coming back somehow, like the actual Gamora, but with her memories gone. Like, remember, because obviously in Endgame she was there, but it was the past Gamora.
Right, it's the same one.
So yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Well, the reason I'm asking is because she's not there at the holiday special. So
Right, 'cause, yeah, she's not on the team because she's out. Like I believe the setup is that since Endgame, Gamora left and she is now head of the Ravengers. It's like she
okay.
basically started her own gang and did her own thing away from Quill and everyone else and the Guardians. And that again, this is still the same Gamora that, because again, our loving Gamora that we've known is dead. She died in Infinity War, and then the past Gamora from like the alternate universe is this Gamora that is not in a relationship with Quill, not a member of the Guardians, and is going off and doing her own thing. So they're trying to find her so they can tell her, like, hey, you're actually a good person. You overthrew your father. Nebula is also good, and just trying to convince her that you're supposed to be in love with this guy, and obviously she doesn't understand, is not having that. So you kind of got to go through that and whole the paces of that relationship again, if at all. But I like this trailer that in general, it's just a nice trailer. Like some of the jokes in there, and I like particularly that it doesn't give away too much. Like it's good and informative, but like a lot of not just Marvel, but just lots of trailers lately have been just spoiling the hell out of the movie. to where you barely even need to watch the actual movie. And I think this still leaves a lot because even Adam Warlock, who was in the trailer in the last trailers, we still kind of don't know what he's gonna do at all based off of these trailers. You just know he's there, and based off of the previous movies, we know he's gonna fight the Guardians, but we don't know, is he gonna kill any of them? Is he
Yeah.
like truly gonna join them? Is he gonna stay off the team, or how he's going to be implemented and used in this movie? We still kind of just don't know. We just know that they're going to fight.
Yeah, so I was saying, like, so I was reading something, and James Gunn was talking about Adam Warlock, and he was saying that he's going to be essentially like in his baby phase, like probably not literal baby, but like kind of new to the universe is very new to him. He's still learning everything, so he's like things might be very confusing for him in the beginning. I hope they don't like get too comedic with it. Because I think that could ruin the character. But that's essentially what it's supposed to be. Like he's supposed to be very like confused when he gets done made and he's trying to learn, and then maybe eventually he'll figure out, oh, okay, this is why I'm here. I need to hate these people and maybe go after them, and then who knows as the movie goes on, and maybe something happens where he eventually joins the Guardians somehow, because I mean, in the comics, he is part of the Guardians team. So that's something that we'll have to see how that works out. And we'll have to see which characters, are written off. I mean, we know Drax is not going to be back. Are they going to kill Drax? Maybe.
Probably.
We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. Like, there's not, like, again, we've talked about this in the past, but there's not been a lot of conversation on any of these actors like extending with MCU, beyond this movie. Like, no, outside of Batista, who's been firm, and obviously James Gunn, who are like, okay, we're not going to be back anymore, at least in the present. Well, Dave Batista for sure. Maybe James Gunn comes back way in the future. Who knows?
Right.
But the other actors haven't really committed one or another. They never said, okay, we're done. But they haven't also said anything as far as they've kind of left it open, right? Like, oh yeah, we would be open. Like Chris Pratt hasn't shut the door on being with MCU, and to my knowledge, either have any of the other actors like Bradley Cooper, so Zoe Saldana, and then Karen Gillian. None of them have shut the door on being with the MCU. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with them as well.
And here's still, it'll be really interesting because we do have those rumors of that Nova, I think it was a series, or I can't remember if it was series or movie, but something that they're doing with Nova in the relatively near future, probably like in the next
maybe like
2 years or so.
Post-credit teaser or something.
Yeah, that, but it's more of like, okay, if they're gonna have Adam Warlock on this team and possibly Nova, like is Nova gonna join too? Is he gonna be like, this team would be ridiculously overpowered if they had Warlock and Nova on the team. Just those two alone could like smash the Avengers and do some damage. Like just those two alone, I'm sure like Star-Lord is not like gonna hurt the Hulk at all, but in the very least, he's a good leader, and Gamora and Groot and Rocket can hold their own. But still, like Warlock and Nova on the same team is kind of a lot. But it still would be interesting to see what direction they go.
Yeah, for sure. It will be interesting to find out what ends up happening. And our final fast flick, if you will, we talked briefly about The Flash earlier, but we're going to go ahead and play the trailer. This was played during the Super Bowl, so we're going to play that and then give our quick thoughts on that before we move on to our final main topic.
Tell me something. You can go anywhere. Another timeline. Another universe. So why do you want to stay and fight to save this one?
this is the world where my mom lives, I'm not going to lose her again. Time has a pattern that it can't help reliving. Different people, different worlds, drawn to each other like magnets. My face. You stole my face.
If you were to go into the past, you have no idea what the consequences can be. Bruce, I could fix things. You could also destroy everything.
This can't be happening. I completely broke the universe. Zod,
We've been waiting for you.
I created a world with no metahumans. And now there's no one to defend us.
Want some help?
You are?
Yeah. I'm Batman.
If I can't undo what I did, if I can't get back, there might not be a future. What's the play? Batman, what do we do?
We try not to die.
It's not Clark.
My name is Kara.
I'm Barry. We're Barry. Barry, what are you doing? Our kids are going to want to see this.
All right, so that's the trailer. Yeah, this is like when I saw this trailer, I was like, this is pretty much the Flashpoint paradox. Obviously they're changing things as far as characters, and I'm guessing that Michael Keaton might be Thomas Wayne.
He's Bruce.
Is he Bruce? Okay. Well, the reason I was guessing that is because obviously when in Flashpoint, I didn't look deep. I don't know if they were just saying he's Bruce, but maybe when we find out he'll be actually Thomas Wayne, because obviously in the Flashpoint when Flash goes back, it's actually Thomas Wayne when he changes everything, and Bruce is dead. Like in that universe, it's Bruce who dies and Thomas Wayne becomes Batman, and his mom becomes the Joker because of watching Bruce die in her arms as a kid. She makes her go crazy. But so that is interesting there. And then the Zod part makes a little bit more sense, because remember we were like, what the hell? Why is Zod in this? Kind of makes sense because in this alternate reality that he probably creates, it doesn't, like, Superman doesn't come down as Kara, but Kara probably gets caught by the government or something, and she's trapped, and there's no like essentially Kryptonian person that's the savior of Earth, and Zod is able to come down and essentially take over Earth the way he wants to, or whatever have you. Maybe that's my guess. But yeah, it's they had also that weird rumor that Christian Bale was somehow going to be in this, and then
I've heard of that too.
Yeah, but who knows if that's going to happen? I would imagine if he was, we would, unless they're just better at hiding it than MCU is. Obviously, that rumor leaked, but who knows? Obviously, the biggest reason that people thought that was it is that motorcycle scene, but that is Bruce. But I mean, again, it could just be a trailer, manipulation, where they make it look like that. I mean, not Bruce, sorry, Ben Affleck, but in the actual movie it'll be Christian Bale. Who knows? Because the what he's writing in that movie is very similar to the Christopher Nolan trilogies when he has that bike
Mhm.
that he rides. That's very similar looking. So yeah, I mean, we'll find out like as far exactly what they do. But those are some of my original my thoughts right off the bat when I was watching this trailer. What did you think of it, Carl?
One, like, yay, finally the Flash trailer. After we've been waiting so long for it to drop and figure out whether or not it's even worth our time, and whether or not if the movie is even going to go forward. But yeah, um, it's still very curious of what they're going to do with Ezra Miller. Um, at all after, because again, this is like the resetting of DC. This is going to cause everything to reset. But just focusing on this trailer and this movie, it looks really exciting and looks really good. I really enjoyed because just to go back on what you're talking about. So the Michael Keaton is supposed to be playing 89 Batman. It's supposed to be playing the exact same Batman that he was. That being said, it should be in that universe, that exact same universe that he came from, the actual 89 Batman and the Batman Returns with, Catwoman, Penguin, so on. It's supposed to be. I mean, if it changes, because like what you said, because I never even thought about Thomas Wayne whatsoever. Like, as far as I know, he's supposed to be Bruce. It would be interesting if it actually is another universe and it is Thomas, and he's playing like pretending to be Bruce or something like that. That would be really, really interesting. Um, but as far as I know, he's supposed to be Bruce, and like everything from the 89 Batman is this universe. That said, I find it really interesting also, because one of the things that people were wondering, and even myself, even criticizing, not me criticizing, but others, but with Supergirl, why is she in this movie, and why is she not blonde? Why is she not like, Supergirl, as anyone would wonder? And again, why her and anyone else? But as Barry was alluding to, he said, I created a world without metahumans. And I don't think that's necessarily the case, although he says that directly. But I think it's more of, this is the 89 Batman. There were no metahumans at that time. But also keep in mind that the Man of Steel movie was the jump off point for the Zack Snyder DCEU, and they were technically, Wonder Woman existed, but she was like hiding, so there was no, she wasn't really around. It was Superman that started everything, and then the boom of metahumans happened after that with Flash, and Aquaman, and stuff like that. Because then they were there, but they weren't involved in anything. So I
Mhm.
think this is supposed to mirror the Snyderverse, and that Kara, played by Sasha Cali, right, with her
Mhm.
short black hair, I think she's supposed to be looking like Henry Cavill. I think that's what the whole point is,
Right.
that she is, because this is again mirroring the Man of Steel movie with Zod showing up, but Superman's not there, and Kara's, like you said, is captured and something like that. So basically, the Man of Steel movie happens, what, with no one there to stop him, because Kara has been captured. But again, Kara being short
Right.
black hair is just supposed to be Henry Cavill Superman like, and supposed to have that kind of imagery
Right.
and stuff like that. And I think that's why they went with her specifically, as opposed to having some blonde hair, blue eyed person playing Kara. At least that's how I see it. Not to say that anyone has said that before or I've heard it from somewhere, but that's just kind of how I understand. But yeah, like, I think it's cool. I think she looks good, Supergirl. I like, in general, again, although the enhanced Batman stuff, like, I don't know how much of Michael Keaton's actually doing those stunts, probably none,
Yeah,
but
I
it's
doubt
still,
it.
he's moving around very much like Ben Affleck's Batman, and very much like Christian Bale's Batman. So they're updating his tech and his fighting ability and stuff like that. But yeah, like I said, I think he's going to be, because remember, in 89 Batman, he's still relatively young, and
Right.
all of this time has passed, and he's going to be about the same age as the Ben Affleck Batman at the same time that the Flash comes around and gets his powers and joins the Justice League. So I think it's just all just kind of mirroring the Snyderverse.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, like to your point, like it looks really good. And obviously when we had talked about this a while ago, but the test screenings when they did for this movie, they were really well received. So yeah, I think this one has the potential to really it'll be interesting. Like I said, it'll be interesting. Maybe it'll be this uh it'll do good enough where they want to end up keeping Ezra Miller. I don't know. That was still up on the table of them potentially wanting to move forward with him. We'll see. Have you seen those funny memes like the post credit for Flash will be Ezra Miller being arrested? uh, it was kind of a funny thing that I saw there. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't have any other thoughts on that. Did you have any thoughts?
No, that about sums it up, I guess.
All right, let's get into our main course here. We are going to again be reviewing Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. We're not going to play a trailer because, I mean, we played enough trailers, I think, and I feel like people don't need to see a trailer anyways, again, for this. We've played a trailer before, so we'll just get into talking about our thoughts on the movie. Carl, I'll let you go first as far as your thoughts on the movie, what you thought about it, and all the acting, characters, and blah, 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 blah.
So yeah, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. I love Jonathan Majors in this movie a ton. And definitely, I mean, I would say most people would agree that he's the best part of the movie overall. Like just everything that he was and everything he did. I think this might be the first movie I've seen him in, but I've seen his name so much over the last couple of years, and I know he's going to be in Creed 3 coming out next month, which I've never seen any of the Creed or even Rocky movies. But in the very least, I'm more invested or more interested in watching the Creed movies just so I can get to his movie with Jonathan Majors, just because Jonathan Majors in it. And I've been enjoying him. Oh yeah, I've watched Loki, of course. Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, obviously
That's not a
I've seen him
movie, it's a
before.
TV series.
Well, I haven't seen him in anything before.
Oh, I thought you meant movies
that.
in general. Okay. Oh.
Yeah, just in general. But still, like even then, when I was watching, him as He Who Remains, right, that character when he was acting, and I'm like, he's got a really interesting acting style. Like you can see that he's very much a character actor. Like he really gets into the characters that he's playing, and he does it in, like, a lot of times when people are acting, like you can say the great acting, sometimes they're just like being themselves and they're just reading lines or whatever, and they're not necessarily being the character because they might be typecast sort of thing. They always play the same type of character. I can tell that Jonathan Majors is not that type of person. I can tell from his acting style, which we'll get into even some of the other things later that he does. But I can just tell from the way he acts that he's definitely someone that is exaggerating, certainly, but at the same time putting a lot into each role that he's doing, so that you're gonna get a lot of performance out of him. Now I'm starting with talking about him, and he's not the main actor of this movie. Obviously, it's Paul Rudd, and why can't I think of her name? The Wasp.
Angelina Lilly.
Yeah, Evangeline Lilly. Excuse me. Pardon me.
Yeah.
So obviously, I'm talking about Jonathan Majors because he is the best part of this movie. The rest of the movie, so I like you said, we haven't really talked about it at all. But I think we've been down this road before, Salim. That usually you're the good cop, and I'm the bad cop. So I thought the first half of this movie was incredibly boring. There's nothing like. Sure, it's set up. I mean, they spend like maybe 10 minutes on Earth, and then they are in the quantum realm for the most part for the whole rest of the movie. Nothing wrong with that in general. So supporting characters like all of from the previous movies, not at all in this one. Nothing wrong with that. It's all good. But all of the setup to get to where we do finally get to see Kang and we do get him involved in the story and stuff like that and learning a little bit about him. Everything for the first half of the movie was pretty dang boring. There was too many scenes where they were just sitting there talking, and it wasn't about anything terribly interesting. Sure, it is still important things to be said, like Janet not wanting to talk about what's going on in the quantum realm and her relationships with Hank and with Hope and so on, Cassie. But it just felt like, okay, can we get to something that's interesting, something that's cool? There's still cool things in there, and there's a lot of visual things. And one thing, like I know Aldo usually would ask, when we're like about to do a show or something like that, is this movie worth watching in the theaters? Like, is it worth being on a big screen and all of this stuff? And even though I just said that the movie's kind of boring for the first half, it's actually visually very pretty and interesting. When you're in the quantum realm, it's not as like trippy like during those scenes of Doctor Strange or stuff like that when he goes there. But in the very least, you had like those buildings that are alive, they're shooting and flying all over the place. You have all these different creatures, so on, and then all the different fauna when they were going through the little forest area and stuff like that. So there's a lot of visual things that are really nice looking that I think is worth seeing on the big screen. And then getting to the Jonathan Majors part, him carrying the latter half of the movie. But other than the visual side of it, I didn't really care for the movie. Other than the visuals and the Jonathan Major side, I didn't really care for this movie. It's not bad, but I didn't fall in love with this movie, and it's very interesting how much different it is from the first two Ant-Man movies, especially because I don't know about you or anyone in your theater, and the one thing that I noticed that during those jokes, any jokes throughout the entire movie, not myself or anyone else in the theater laughed at all. Like there was no laughter whatsoever in the theater for any joke throughout the whole movie. The only part that even had any kind of audible reaction from the theater was when with MODOK when he revealed his face, which we'll talk about probably a little bit later. But that's it. That was the only thing that anyone even like reacted to while watching the movie. Now, that being said, like I said, Jonathan Majors, amazing. Loved Kang. We got some backstory on him, but we didn't get the entire picture, and we're going to definitely get more of that in the future. So I'm looking forward to that. But overall, I'm just there for Kang. That's all I want.
You funny you say good cop, bad cop. I'm actually agree with you.
Okay.
Jonathan Majors, fantastic. The way he delivered his lines, smooth. Kang the Conqueror, fucking awesome. I loved it. I loved him as Kang the Conqueror. The movie itself, like the way you said, started off slow. Cassie, her character, forgettable. Her acting, like Olivia. What's her full name? She's a really good actress. She is. Other stuff she's been in, she's nailed it.
Catherine Newton.
Yeah, Catherine Newton. But she didn't really get to put her acting chops in this movie. It was just her role was very bland in here. Most of the movie, it's her just screaming "Daddy, Daddy," and like they didn't do her justice for her as an actor. The whole Bill Murray, why the hell was Bill Murray in this?
That's what I was going to ask. I wanted to talk about. Was like they completely wasted Bill Murray. What's the point?
What was the point of him? They could have taken any random person to be that character. Why Bill Murray?
I could have done it for $50. I would have did it.
like I thought like this, like I said, the visuals are great. I love the entire cities that they made. Um, I dislike that the comedy and like the supporting cast in the first two movie. I dislike that those guys are not in this. Like I missed those characters. Like
Yeah, I do too. I was like, man, there's no Ti, there's no Michael
yeah,
Pena, man.
yeah, I miss those characters. Like that's what made Ant-Man so fun too, because of those side characters. Um, and then the ending to me was also underwhelming. It's like I was expecting for there to be a little bit more consequence for Ant-Man. Like I thought, like okay, when he says that line, I don't have to beat you. We just have to make sure. I just have to make sure we both lose. So I thought he was going to take a loss somehow.
Right, yeah.
Like either him going into that one thing with him or getting stuck in that in the quantum realm.
Right,
And
right.
then,
Especially
something like that.
when Hope comes back, I was like, oh, they're both gonna get stuck, is what I was
Yeah.
thinking. It's like, man,
Yeah,
holy cow.
that would have been a good ending, I think.
Right.
Because it has to be, but obviously then they show something later where it's like, oh wait, he said this, so it's bad. And the other thing I didn't like is he should like King the Conqueror has beaten the entire team of Avengers by himself. Like he was defeated too easily. I feel like. And I don't know if they're hinting at this is not the final king. Maybe that's what they mean. I don't know.
think
It
he
seems
is.
like he is. Yeah. So
Yeah.
to me, he should not have been defeated so easily. Like I don't know. It just seemed they sold that end. They sold King, like they ripped him off a little bit in that end. But like, yeah, I just like I said, it was an okay film. It's not a bad movie. I would probably go to the theater to watch it because of Jonathan Majors' performance and because of the visuals. But yeah, outside of that, it's not like it's especially how hyped up it was, right? And how much it was built up. Like, oh, King the Conqueror's in this. This is gonna kick us off into phase 5. We're gonna be really, it was like, okay. It's not something that I really, I really, fell over and like, man, this is such a fun movie. I'm like I know, like for example, Multiverse of Madness got a lot of hate. I thought like coming out of that movie, I was like, oh, this was really fun. This was a fun movie.
Mhm.
I was just like, yeah, it's not bad. Like I said, it had its good parts. Obviously, we both you and I agree. Jonathan Majors carries this movie. He nails King the Conqueror as far as everything involved. But yeah, outside of that, it was just kind of whatever to me. Oh, and you know what? There's a part that's not supposed to be funny that made me kind of laugh. It kind of made me think. So when he's big and he's like, "We had a deal," and he's just like knocking everything down. It made me think. Have you ever seen that Simpsons episode, the Stampy one, where when Bart gets an elephant?
I'm sure I have, but it's been
Okay,
a while.
but there's a there's a thing in there. Homer is like, Homer says something similar. Like he's like, "We had a deal, Blackheart. We had a deal." It just made me think of that for some reason. I started laughing. Like it was just like goofy. I don't know. That was just this dumb scene. Like him just kind of like, "We had a deal." It's like, okay, dude. Looks like he's throwing like a tantrum, like as a large Ant-Man. But yeah, like I said, kind of disappointed. It's like especially, and I don't know if maybe we're feeling that way because it was so hyped up too. Like our expectations maybe were so much higher because of what they were doing, like what they were trying to set up, especially going into King Dynasty. Like because this is supposed to be built up towards King Dynasty. It's kind of disappointing in that sense too.
Well, don't get me wrong. Like for me, I think the whole movie. I mean, even like in retrospect, the whole movie is really just like a pregame
Yeah.
to King Dynasty. just to solidify some things like with the Loki series and the he who remains character to kind of continue that, but in like a movie, like what happened in that. We'll talk about him a little bit later, I'm sure, but like I think the whole movie is just kind of a setup for the King dynasty, setup for King. It's not like it wasn't a great Ant-Man movie, but I mean,
Yeah.
obviously there were ants, and he had to involve that somehow. So that's where you get that ending where these 1,000-year-old ants are
Yeah, Hank
hyper
Pym.
intelligent and come in Deus Ex Machina, the whole thing. But yeah, don't get me wrong, I enjoy like that part of it, and it's fine. Very comic booky type of end. Very like if we had to put anything on it, but even in the trailers, which is very clearly in the movie, Kang said, "You're outclassed, Ant-Man. Like you're out of your league," is what he says.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
clearly he can't fight Kang. Like there's no, and he did. Like he was super. He went Giant Man and he punching Kang against the wall and stuff like that. At the end of the day, that really didn't do anything, and he just got overwhelmed by like again like if it wasn't for the super technologically highly advanced and intelligent ants with all of their stuff that they had, obviously Kang would
That's
not
fair.
have Kang
That's
would not
fair.
have lost that fight.
By the way, I
So
do love that line. You're out of your league, Ant-Man.
right, yeah,
I love that.
and
This
the way he
delivery.
delivers it,
Like you
yeah.
know exactly like me saying it doesn't do it justice. The way he
Mhm.
delivers it, it just his facial expressions, everything fucking nails
Right. It's like, were you the
it.
one? Like, have I killed you before? Were you the one with the hammer? Like,
Yeah,
what?
I've killed so many Avengers. Like he's killed so many Avengers he doesn't like number.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah. Like, so yeah. I don't. I'm glad that like there was so many scenes where he's just like flicking them away and just whatever. It's like clearly they can't fight him. Like there's just no way. So obviously, but I did enjoy like the actual end fight, the actual fight where it was just him. They were fighting over the portal before
yeah.
before it closed, and basically no powers, no suit or anything like that. It was just two men fighting, and like I was like, dude, are you seriously like Scott Lang? Do you not realize that Jonathan Majors is going to be fighting Creed next month? He's been lifting
Yeah.
for like so long. Do you not see how ripped he is, bro? Like you're going to throw hands with Creed or with Jonathan Majors right now? Like you're definitely losing this fist fight. And but yeah, I enjoyed that part of it in the very least, just to see those two stripped away from their technology and they're just fighting for the opportunity to get out of the quantum realm. So that would probably be like the more entertaining part, the most entertaining part of the movie for me. Um, actually, like I don't necessarily disagree with you on Catherine Newton's performance. Like I just didn't mind it. Like I don't. I'm not saying that she did a great job
Yeah.
or a
I don't
poor
I didn't say
job. It's just
I'm mad at it. I just feel like
yeah,
it was forgettable and like she's like she's supposed to be a big part of it, but it's forgettable.
yeah. That's what I'm saying. I don't agree with that part of it. But again, I'm not also saying that she was so amazing either. I just thought she did a fine job. Like, but maybe you had higher expectations and you thought she like it was going to be like a super important part of the movie, which she was just kind of there.
I feel like she's
um
supposed to be.
yeah, like for me she was, I don't know, maybe again my expectations were lower than yours on what she was going to do in the movie. I didn't have any going in. It's just
Because she's the
yeah,
reason they're there.
yeah, it's her fault for sure. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I expected more from that character. I guess I don't know. I feel like that it's I don't and it might not be her fault. Like I said, it could just be like the way they had her character. Really, like it's just unfortunate that they didn't do more with it. But that's just my take on it, obviously, and everyone obviously could have a different take. No worries on that. But yeah, that's our thoughts on the movies. I know you have a bunch of still here you wanna
Yeah, go off, talk about them, tell me how you feel.
oh, and then obviously Mo,
Go
Modoc.
go off,
That was
Sonny.
surprising to me just because Uh, it was like random, like not something I expected. Like because MODOK, from what I remember, he's part of like AIM in the Marvel in the comics, um, and like he's not from the future, and obviously like I don't know, it was just really random to see like that them bring back that Darren character. Uh, they tried to make like I'm wondering like like the show like the MODOK show they did,
Hmm.
and they made that a comedy or like a comedic role in that cartoon. It was
Yeah,
a cartoon, but it was a comedy. I wonder if
yeah.
that's what they were still trying to do with the character to kind of make him goofy funny.
Or you expecting him to be serious?
A little bit more than what he was.
Oh yeah, I don't know. Modoc is a giant head with very tiny arms and legs. I don't
Yeah, but
know why you thought he was going to
I
be
don't know.
serious.
I don't know. I have never seen like I've never like but he's I don't know. I guess I don't know. But yeah, I thought it was completely left field for sure. I did not expect that because I knew he was in this, but I did not expect it to be Darren from the first movie.
Yeah, I wish it wasn't him just because like this Modoc here where he looks mechanical, like 100% mechanical. I prefer that. Like cuz then he could be serious like and he's just a killing machine and like you wouldn't even have to explain it. But I think that's where it loses
Well, that's what
because
I meant. That's
yeah,
what I
like
meant. But that
it would have been
making
cool if he was just this, but when he removes his face shield and you see the Darren face, like that's where it gets it. I think where they lost opportunities to make more fun of him because they didn't really do anything other than what happened to you. Like other than that, they really didn't like, and everyone was saying that to him, like Hope and Scott and Hank and stuff like that. But like I think when they were in jail, Scott was like talking a little bit about his arms and legs. But like if they had like a whole like 60 seconds where they just like have Scott just tell jokes constantly and just like make fun of him, I think that would have worked a lot and been better. But the way they made his face look, it just didn't work. Like Modoc's has a really ugly, nasty face in general in the comics, and he's lots of folds and wrinkles, and he has
right,
hair, which looks super weird because he didn't have any hair, and because Darren Cross is bald, so they didn't
right.
give him hair, so he looks weird without the hair. He's got the same face, but it's just stretched out, so it doesn't look grotesque or comedic. It just looks weird, and then they didn't really try to make fun of him for very much. They just had the same old joke. So, like I said, no one was really laughing during any of the jokes in my theater, and it's just when his face was revealed, it was everyone was like, "Ugh." And like they had that moment where they could capture or they captured everyone's attention when that face was revealed, but they did nothing with it. I should say, or they dropped the ball and trying to make that moment funny or it was just more awkward than it was funny. But yeah, if they kept him just looking like the more metal version and just have him as a robot and he could just be a killing machine for Kang, I would have been fine with just that. And then be like, yeah, go get my remote control killer machine that is unstoppable and made of adamantium or vibranium or whatever, and you can't just that would have been fine for me. And it didn't necessarily need to be comedic, but yeah, I think they just dropped the ball on any type of comedic part with that character.
Yeah, well, that's what I meant when them doing the comedic. Like, I was wondering if they wanted to continue doing it comedic because that cartoon was comedic, so
Hmm.
they wanted to continue making it a comedic role. And maybe they also wanted to do like, okay, well, since we're not gonna have the Ti and all those other characters who are kind of comedic, you know, roles, let's make him the comedic role in a sense. So maybe that's what their thought process was as well. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, that's what's like his ending when he sacrificed himself. They were trying to make even that was supposed to be comedic. It just didn't land.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was just awkward. But yeah, that was that. You have another still the point scene um, of all the different
Are we done talking about the main movie?
variants.
Are we done talking about the main
thoughts
movie?
about the main movie? I don't. Sorry, I am. I don't have any other thoughts about the main movie. Did you?
Let's see. Shout outs to Jimmy Woo showing up for one scene where they were sitting at
Oh yeah, with the card scene.
yeah, or the card scene.
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
thank you, Randall Park, for getting paid for nothing. What else was
He
there?
was as useful. He was as useful as Bill Murray.
Basically, I wouldn't be surprised if they got the same. But yeah, but like really, like Bill Murray was just such a weird thing. Like I know a lot of people had like these expectations of like, oh, what character he's gonna be this character, and he's gonna be that, and I'm like, yo, it's Bill Murray. There's no way he's gonna be anything
it's one
significant.
scene, like one scene he's in, and like it was it's like they could have taken anyone. There was no reason to have Bill Murray play that character. It was so dumb. Like it just made no sense to have like at all. It's like he doesn't come back. There's no. Oh, and then they have the talk where they're talking about like how they had to like had needs, so they all had both had to hook up with somebody because we're away from each other for 30 years. Is like okay, that was a necessary conversation to be had, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, other than that, I mean, there wasn't anything else. Like, did they set up anything else during the movie that was not King related? Do you remember? I'm pretty sure it was all basically King, and then the last part.
Yeah, because even that last part when he's walking in the street is King related too.
Right.
Like right before the credits end, like when Scott is having that thought. So, but he said that if I die, the worst things could happen. Then you're like, yeah, no, whatever, and then he kind of goes back on his little walk, and his happy little beat starts playing again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't. That's my knowledge that I remember.
Alrighty, well, so we're gonna go ahead and just talk about the post-credit scenes. There's two of them, and like you said, after Ant-Man's walking down the street and talking to himself about everything will be fine. He was not maybe exaggerating or whatever. We have the scene where we have the Council of Kangs. They're all talking. So basically, if you didn't know that. Because again, we've seen this character played by Jonathan Majors in Loki season 1, the He Who Remains. So that's where we first saw him. But now we got in this movie the main Kang, the big bad. So Kang was referring to throughout the movie, he said that the others sent me here. He was banished to the quantum realm. So basically, it took the ability, the strength, and know-how of all of these other Kangs from all of the other multiverse versions of Kang, because again, calling back to what He Who Remains started and talked about, that there is going to be a big war between each of the Kangs, because they, I guess me real quick explain again what he said is that he's from the future. He discovered the multiverse, and from there each version of himself discovers the multiverse and time travel and so on, and eventually they all met up with each other. They shared their secrets, but over time they eventually started feuding with each other, and a war it was brewing between each of the different versions of himself. And He Who Remains was the one that was able to get to the end of time, and is basically watching over time, but he died at the end of the Loki's season 1, and then there's Kang in this movie, who apparently is the most powerful of all of the Kangs because it took all of these other multiversal versions of Kang to banish him to the quantum realm. So what we have here in the first post-credit scene is these other versions of Kang, which are very relatively comic book accurate, I would say. For these other versions of Kang, in the middle is Immortus. And then on the left, the one looks like a pharaoh, that is Ramatut. And then on the right, I think in the very least, I have. Let me go ahead and share this really quick here. All right, so we do have this one as a suggestion for what the third Kang could be, Kang Prime or Scarlet Centurion. I don't personally know because I don't have a whole lot of history reading Kang stuff, but it's definitely a very futuristic looking version of Kang. But you see here's a comic book version of Ramatut, and then the comic book version of Immortus, Once and Future Kang. And there's many other versions of Kang as well, which we saw also in that post-credit scene where they're all in that arena and they're all just porting in. And then you can see here this comic book scene, which was very much mirrored in the movie. You can see all those versions of Kang screaming and yelling and stuff, which again, just to go back, I absolutely loved Jonathan Majors in all of that because he's playing so many different versions of the same character at the same time and giving you so many different performances. I loved him screaming and shouting and stuff like that. It was just like
there's like an ape version of him, and like
I'm just like, okay, I'm here for that. That's what I want to see. Give me more Jonathan Majors. That's all what I'm taking away from this movie, and what I'm excited for going forward is seeing more of that.
Right. Yeah, that was that definitely kicks off. So it'll be interesting when we see the ramifications of that happen next. I'm guessing it'll be more fleshed out in the second post credit scene, which is I don't know. Did you have a still for that or?
No, not from the movie. No.
But yeah, so they show like in the second post credit scene. Originally, I was expecting it to be like a joke or something, because normally the second one is just nothing to do with anything. But it was it's actually important. It's an important scene, and it's obviously they show like way in the past, and they show like a variant again of Kang, up there talking about time travel, and then in the audience you see Loki and you see Mobius, and they're basically it's Loki who says he's the most dangerous person in existence or something like that. He says, and basically that it pretty much shows that that's probably where Loki season 2 is going to be about, or take off from there. And maybe, like I said, that's when we'll see more fleshed out about the Kang, all the different Kangs, variants, and more so. And we'll get to maybe even see like the very beginning, really, like they show how it all starts with all these different variants happening, and how they all get together, and so forth. But yeah, that scene was obviously very important about what's going to be happening in Phase 5, and will be interesting to see how else everything else connects as they keep going into Kang Dynasty.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is that because we can't, especially when we're talking about Loki and the TVA and stuff, that we can't assume that that's just Earth 616. It's not like necessarily it could be at any multiverse iteration of him, and at any point in time. It did seem like old fashioned for sure, like with their style, but Kang himself comes from the future, so I don't know if this is like an ancestor, and this is could be like an ancestor, and they're just like he just happens to look like him, or if they are in the far future, and then but it's still of that world, this just how they dress or whatever. Like we
maybe.
don't really, we don't really know exactly the
Maybe.
time point. Not that it's like slightly relevant, but not really. So we don't know if that is actually Kang up there or if it's just uh ancestor. But he was Elkie was saying to Mobius like that's the guy because Mobius has never met He Who Remains. He wasn't there.
Right.
It was Loki and Sylvie. So Loki or Mobius only knows what Loki tells him. And if I remember correctly, Mobius probably doesn't know much what happened because like after like all of time reset after they killed He Who Remains, all of time just rebooted itself. So Mobius probably doesn't even remember half the things that happened in the Loki series. Maybe if at all, he's just probably like, yo, he might be like another variant even. I don't really know how that's gonna work. Maybe they're outside of time, right? Like I don't know.
Right.
But I think time did reset, so he doesn't necessarily know all of the events, and so he'll have to be like caught up. Like that's the guy you're talking about that was at the end of time. That's the guy that was controlling everything. He doesn't look like a threat. Is basically what he was trying to convey. So yeah, I think Loki season 2 is also like that's also this summer too. It's supposed to be. So moving Captain Marvel out of the way for that is another reason um, to shift that to November.
Yeah. Like I said, it's kind of like while this movie, in both you and my opinion, was underwhelming. Um, there's still a lot of important things that can be taken away from it, and it'll be very important what happens going forward. Uh, Kind of similar to how Eternals was.
Yeah,
Like, I mean,
there you go.
it has a lot of important factors that will affect the rest of like the phases and the storylines and the different characters. But the movie itself, uh, we'll see, and we'll see what happens. Like MCU, I feel like, at least in my opinion, I mean, obviously Black Panther was great, but like I was let down by Love and Thunder. Um, I and we've seen obviously they've done better with their TV series, and maybe that's where they'll continue to really excel at. We'll see how Secret Wars comes out. That's supposed to come out, I think, in spring.
Secret Invasion.
Uh, Secret Invasion, sorry, Wars. Secret Invasion is supposed to come out in spring. That's their next TV show. So we'll see. Maybe that's going to be a major shift as well, and they'll continue to do great things in that regards. But yeah, like I said, we'll see. We'll see what happens as far as the rest of Phase 5. But for me, like I said, my overall thoughts on this movie is could have done a lot better, I think.
Just a quick question because I'm thinking about it as a lot of not necessarily everyone, but I've heard a lot of people voice their opinion over Phase 4, and even now we're in Phase 5 of being relatively disappointed with a lot of the you know Eternals, even Shang-Chi. I've heard a lot of people been like talking negatively about Shang-Chi lately. Despite it being praised when it came out, but it's been
Right.
kind of negative lately. Um, of the movies between we've seen Ant-Man now, we know we're getting Guardians in a few months, and Marvels is coming in November. I'm pretty sure that's it, right, for the year. Are you excited, like genuinely excited for Guardians of the Marvels based off everything we know and what we've seen, or are you just kind of like just not looking forward to them? Like, how are you feeling?
I'm excited about the Guardians. I don't know what to expect of the Marvels. Like, it's like outside of the I enjoyed the show, and obviously I'm biased because there was a lot of cultural connections of being of South Asian descent, especially Muslim connections. So like obviously I'm a little biased towards that, but they haven't really, there hasn't much else talked about the Marvels. There's still that one scene in the post credit where all of a sudden she's we at first we were confused. Is that actually her turning into Miss Marvel, or did they switch spots? Like Brie Larson is accidentally in Captain America, Linda Danvers. Sorry, Carol Danvers is accidentally Linda Danvers. That's Supergirl.
It was like, yeah, you're all over the place.
Carol Danvers is by accident. She's in Earth and wherever um, Kam- Kamala. Maybe she's where Carol Danvers is supposed to be, or like what happened with there. That's an interesting post credit, and obviously maybe that's where the Marvels will start off at. But yeah, outside of that, I'm intrigued by Marvels. We'll see how that goes. I'm excited about Secret Invasion. That's because that's been really hyped up, and it's supposed to have an absolute killer cast. Like we've talked about that, obviously. So that should be a very good fun show. How about you? Like, where are you at with those?
Before I respond to that, what else is coming out for Disney Plus other than Secret Invasion and Loki 2 season 2? What else are we supposed to be getting this year?
Hold on.
Because I can't think of anything other than.
Let's take a look.
Well, while you look that up, I'll go ahead and answer the question. So, Guardians 3, I'm only interested to see who's going to be around. I'm not like I think I'll have a good time because it's James Gunn, good music, comedy and stuff like that. I'm obviously going to check out all of these things anyway, but am I like excited for it? No, not really. They haven't really done anything or shown anything in the trailers to make me excited for the movie. I just want to see Gamora get angry and kill things and stuff, but we'll see how that goes. But I am a little bit more intrigued with the Marvels only because it's gonna have Monica Rambeau like on the big screen, and I'm interested in seeing what they do with her. And hopefully she'll be like able to get her own series or do something. I really want to see the interaction between her and Carol because they're definitely gonna fight. But no idea what the villain is for this movie and what they're doing together at all. And I'm just hoping that because Carol is one of my favorite characters in general. So after the relatively disappointing first movie, which I still like, but it's still like it's not. I recognize it's not amazing. I'm hoping this redeems the character in many people's eyes because a lot of people just don't like Carol and they don't like Brie Larson and so on. So I'm hoping that in the very least, this is a good movie to bring those people back in because I know a lot of people are just going to skip it in general because of Carol / Brie, but I'm hoping that it's good enough to convince them like, okay, we'll give her another chance. So I'm intrigued for that, but yeah, like who's the villain, what they're doing, who knows? I have no idea.
Yeah, so you're asking after Loki, like the movie wise. So the movies that are coming out of Guardian, it's obviously Guardians in May, the Marvels in November, and then the next movie is supposed to be Captain America: New World Order, but that's in 24, May of 24. So that's essentially um, a year from Guardians, essentially. There's no dates for the TV series outside of Loki being mid 2023. Like, what if it's supposed to come out after that? But there's no really date on that. And then after that, it's supposed to be Ironheart.
Okay, yeah. I was like, there's got to be something else for Disney Plus after Loki because they're not going to go the rest of the year. But I forgot about
Well, there's a bunch of shows in Phase 5. So like overall,
well, yeah, but I mean like this year for 2023.
Yeah, what if is supposed to be maybe December? I would imagine maybe. I don't know. Maybe around the holidays. I don't know. That's what I would guess.
And also, which I forgot, X-Men 97 is supposed to be like fall or winter, something like that. So that's another thing that's coming out.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll see how that's canon to the rest of this stuff, but we'll see. Any final thoughts as we get out of here?
That about wraps it up for me.
Cool. Yeah, that wraps it up for me as well. Obviously, thank you again for everyone tuning in and listening, watching us on our shows and tuning in on audio as well. Obviously, if you missed previous episodes, you can find us on the Barroom Network under YouTube and on all my major and minor podcast platforms. And obviously, please check out all the other shows, great shows that that the Barroom has to offer that cover all the various Chicago sports. But yeah, that's it for me and Carl for tonight. We will see you guys next time.
Peace out.
Thank you.